Joining us now, Texas Congressman Pat Fallon. He just came back from Poland's border with Ukraine, and back with us is White House former Deputy Chief of Staff. He's Karl Rove. It's great to have you both on. Thank you so much for coming on the show, the both of you. Congressman, first to you, the fallout of the the president ad-libbing his way into this new blunder. It's a sloppy lack of discipline, critics are saying. It's making harder for Russia to capitulate. Now he's doubling down. He's contradicting himself, saying he supports what he said about regime change in Russia. What do you think of all this?
Well, Liz, I'm just as confused as anyone else in the world. I don't know. I wish he would just zip his mouth and take some actions. I don't care what his words are at this point. If he wants to really help the Ukrainians out, how about shipping them more asymmetrical aid like we begged him to and beseeched him to back in November? And I would just send him artillery pieces and zip POTUS's mouth, quite frankly. I think we'd all be better off. Yeah, to the congressman's point, and drop the mic moment now. Karl, the president, though, at first he said it, then he said he doesn't want regime change, and today he's defending the mistakes he made overseas. Karl, I'd like you to listen to what the president said today. Watch this.
Are you worried that other leaders in the world are going to start to doubt that America is back if some of these big things that you say on the world stage keep getting walked back?
What's getting walked back?
It made it sound like, just in the last couple days, it sounded like you told U.S. troops they were going to Ukraine. It sounded like you said it was possible the U.S. would use a chemical weapon, and it sounded like you were calling for regime change in Russia, and we know...
None of the three occurred.
None of the three occurred?
None of the three.
Mr. President?
You interpret the language that way. I was talking to the troops. We're talking about helping train the troops that are the Ukrainian troops that are in Poland.
So when you said you're going to see when you're there, you were not intending to
I was referring to meeting with and talking with the Ukrainian troops that were in Poland.
What do you think, Karl?
Well, look, President Biden has described himself as a walking gaffe machine, and we saw the gaffes, and they are having consequences both at home and abroad. Take a look at this. Do you think the president is a strong leader? When he was running for president, he wasn't exactly in the best of positions. This is Fox poll, 47-47 in September of 2020. After Afghanistan of last year, it was 45-53. In early February, it was 36-61. I bet that number gets even weaker here in the days ahead if it's polled again, because these things make him look like a weak leader. These are all ad libs, and they all have consequences, and they're adverse for the United States interest.
Yeah, the White House, Congressman, to Karl's point, it's done everything it can to stop escalation. But, there's nothing like escalation than saying you want regime change. And what Karl is saying is that we've got this new AP poll. 9 out of 10 say they don't want America in a war. And then 7 out of 10 in a new NBC poll is saying they have low confidence in the president's handling of this.
Well, Liz, Joe Biden's about as inspiring as a stale croissant. And what we need to be doing is sending, like I said before, and it can't be really understated, is sending the Ukrainians stingers so they can mitigate the helicopter risk. Sending them javelins and harpoons if they want them that are anti-ship missiles, and light machine guns and plastic explosives and American RPGs, the equivalent thereof, and ammunition and light machine guns. Arm them to the teeth, and then give them the humanitarian and economic aid that they need. And then Putin will know that he's in for a long struggle, and then he'll come to the table, or at least he'll be more apt to.
Yeah, to your point. By the way, we're going to watch what happened. Karl, I want you to react to what happened, because it's on tape. You say the president says he's a gaffe machine, right? The thing is, when you look at how he said it and what he said, it feels like a dumpster fire. He's made 4 mistakes in 3 days. Let's watch what happened.
For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power. Sanctions never deter. You keep talking about that. Sanctions never deter. And you're going to see when you're there, and some of you have been there, you're going to see women, young people standing in the middle in front of a damn tank, just saying, I'm not leaving. I'm holding my ground. We did talk about food shortages. And it's going to be real.
What do you say, Karl? I mean, we've got, one host said the State of the Union today is America wondering what President Biden is going to blunder into next.
Yeah, well, you left off one of the others. He said if the Russians use chemical weapons, we'll respond in a like manner. Well, we don't even have chemical weapons because we abide by an international treaty that outlaws them. Look, these are big problems. And today, in his response to Peter Doocy, I was astonished. The president basically said, I never said those things. Who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes and ears? We all heard those things. It is better for the president to have stuck to the original line that he had at the beginning of the news conference, which was, I was expressing my moral outrage. But look, this has consequences. I want you to think about this. Strong and decisive in the Gallup poll. In September of 2020, it was 46%. In January, before all this started, it was 37. Can he manage the government effectively? Can he, in essence, lead? 52% in September of 2020. Today, 38. And I bet after all of this hubbub about his visit to Europe, it's going to be even less. This is not good for the country, particularly in a time of grave danger. I couldn't agree more with Congressman Fallon. Give the Ukrainians what they need. I'd add to that list the A-300 anti-aircraft systems that will allow them to dominate the skies and bring down Soviet jets that are flying above the current level that a Stinger can attack. And we also ought to do things like provide them those MiG-29s. If need be, disassemble them, send them as spare parts to keep the Ukrainian Air Force going. But we need to support the Ukrainians short of the U.S. troops crossing that border. And the president makes it more difficult for us to do those kind of things and rally support when he's as incoherent as he was.
Right. And to what Carl just said, Congressman, the reality is Biden unplugged, critics keep saying it is a national security threat. They've hid him. They've stage managed him. He had scripted press conferences. 2012, the Obama team pulled Biden off the campaign trail because he was making mistakes. Political quoting Obama saying, you don't got this. You don't have this, Joe. So how does a guy with 50 years experience in foreign policy ad-lib a line as big as that about Russia during a hot war in Europe?
Well, Liz, it makes you really question his mental acuity and his mental state, quite honestly. One of my best friends in Congress, Ronnie Jackson, Dr. Ronnie Jackson, president or doctor to 3 presidents, really does worry about his mental acuity, and he shouldn't be leaving the free world right now. I don't know if I would have hired him for the mid-sized company that I had a few years back. So it worries me greatly. We have an incredible army. We talked to the 82nd Airborne Commander when I was there. We're ready to defend NATO if need be, God forbid. But again, as Karl Rove just said, we need to do everything we can to make sure the Ukrainians can fend off the Russian bear.
Got it. Congressman Pat Fallon, Karl Rove, we'll have you back on. That was a great interview. It's great to spend time with you both. It's good to see you.